Emanuel's parents emigrated. Well, the father emigrated from Israel. He was a member of a Jewish terrorist organization in Israel that was in part responsible for carrying out the bombing of the King David Hotel in Jerusalem, which killed British nationals, Palestinian Arabs, and Palestinian Jews in 1946. I spoke to someone whose father was a member of the British forces in then the UN mandate of Palestine, and Benjamin Emanuel, who later came to the United States and became a pediatrician in Chicago. The father was his specialty was buses. Not that he drove a bus or worked on buses. His specialty was blowing up buses, especially buses with a lot of British military and policemen on board. So this is the father of the person who wants to be the next mayor of Chicago. Now we can say, well, you can't lay the sins of the father on the son, but we have a pattern with Rahm Emanuel, with his mannerisms, his take no prisoners political policies, his crudeness. We have an individual who doesn't seem, he's never shown any remorse over what his father's done. As a matter of fact, Rahm Emanuel is a veteran of the Israel Defense Force himself. During Desert Storm, when U.S. troops were going over to Saudi Arabia and Kuwait to fight against Iraq, Rahm Emanuel went to Israel to join the Israel Defense Force.
Now, his brother, Ari Emanuel, you've mentioned in a couple of articles, including the May 18th and June 2nd article, Ari Emanuel, who is portrayed as Ari Gold in the HBO hit series Entourage. Ari Gold, a super Hollywood agent, works for William Morris Endeavor. And more recently, on a couple of nights ago, they hosted a fundraiser at the House of Blues with Jennifer Hudson, a Chicago native who is also a client for William Morris Endeavor. Ari Emanuel has helped his brother out tremendously in getting Hollywood contributions for his campaign fund. Can you elaborate more on that, Wayne?
Well, true. Ari Emanuel is a super agent, apparently every bit as crude and obnoxious as Rahm, if that's possible. Again, as you say, you know, there's a character was patterned after him, this Ari Gold. But I think this is just indicative of the entire Emanuel family, that what you have are people who are basically take no prisoners, sort of like a kosher version of The Sopranos. And the other brother, of course, Ezekiel Emanuel, is a big advisor to the Obama White House on health care, and he was seconded from the National Institutes of Health. I would also point out that the father, Benjamin Emanuel, after Emanuel became chief of staff to Obama, his father said something about, of course, my son is he's not an Arab. He's not going to be cleaning the floors in the White House like some Arab. He's a chief of staff. Again, we saw no real, we saw a regret from Rahm Emanuel, but no real apology. It's quite clear that this entire family is very racist in its views, and has nothing but disdain towards Arabs and Muslims. And I think even when we saw Emanuel run for Congress in 2002, I was up in that 5th district, and which includes Wrigley Field, and it was quite clear that a lot of people in that district thought that Emanuel might be one of the Iraqi Christians, the Assyrian, one of the Assyrians, the Chaldeans that live up there. And of course, he made no attempt to try to clear that up. He was more than happy that some of the Arabs, Arab Americans, and Arab Christians in that 5th district thought he was one of them, and they mistakenly voted for him, thinking he was one of them. So he's even tried to hide his own identity from people. I mean, this guy's very cagey. I also went back and looked at a report in the Chicago Tribune back in the 1960s, late 60s, And apparently his father, when he was a pediatrician, there was a pregnant mother in his care, and the young baby was born, and they couldn't get into a hospital because apparently it was the weekend, and Benjamin Emanuel wasn't working, and the baby died in the car looking for a hospital with the maternity ward to deliver the baby. So the whole family, I mean, it's just from the very poor bedside manners of the father, the pediatrician, the ex-terrorist who blew up buses in Palestine and hotels to the kids. This, like I say, this is like a kosher version of The Sopranos.
And another interesting note on Ezekiel Emanuel, he's been a big proponent for the legalization of euthanasia. And doing my research, I found that the Greek word for euthanasia means good death. And he's also